Hey everybody, it's Crazy Tom with another edition of Crazy Tom's What Drives Me Crazy here for this Monday, June the 22nd. I just want to take a brief moment and wish a belated Happy Father's Day to everybody who celebrated on Sunday. Hope everybody had a wonderful day. Mine most certainly was a great day. Had a wonderful dinner. Got a couple very nice gifts from the family, so thank you guys for that, and hopefully everything went well. I just wanted to bring this up to everybody because last night things have just been absolutely going wildfire when it comes to the media. And just when you thought things were going too far with the removal of statues, the changing of packaging, the canceling of culture, and all the rioting and protesting and looting that has sprinkled here and there and all over the place over this last month, the controllers are still pushing it as if it hasn't gone far enough. I'm sure you've heard the news late last night, and it was very unfortunate. There was a report, and I say report lucidly, that went absolutely wildfire, which regarded NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace in the 43 car, and a noose which was found in his garage stall. Now, I'll be the first one to say that this should never happen to anybody. I mean, come on. Why in 2020 are we still having these problems? Now, NASCAR released a statement, I believe it was late last night or this morning, I forget which, but here's what it said, and I quote, "Late Sunday afternoon, NASCAR was made aware that a noose was found in the garage stall of the 43 team. We are angry and outraged and cannot state strongly enough how serious we take this heinous act. We have launched an immediate investigation and will do everything we can to identify the person or persons responsible and eliminate them from the sport. As we have stated unequivocally, there is no place for racism in NASCAR, and this act only strengthens our resolve to make the sport open and welcoming for all." And for that, I do agree. But I see a couple of big problems with it. It's supposed to be about the human race, and I totally get that. But why in 2020 are we living like it's 1935? I don't understand that. Now let's break this story down. Now, of course, the Geico 500 was supposed to be run yesterday, but inclement weather postponed the race until later this afternoon, 3 Eastern, 2 o'clock Talladega time. Only 5,000 fans were to be in attendance for the race, obviously because of social distancing, COVID-19, and all that lovely stuff. Luckily, Talladega is several hundred miles north of where the chaos is now happening in Central Florida, and especially Orange County and the Orlando area. So like I said, only 5,000 people were to be in attendance for the race. That's number one. Number two, and this is my biggest question, how did the noose get there? Do people realize how ridiculous security is to protect the NASCAR drivers, teams, and staff? It's basically almost a Super Bowl level every single Sunday or Saturday night they race. Now, if you noticed at the end of the NASCAR broadcast yesterday, a short time after the Geico 500 was postponed due to weather, Fox stated as they went off the air that they lost the track on turn 4. And literally in less than a minute, they were off the air. It was postponed until the next day at 3. There is the possibility, and I can't confirm this, but I'm thinking that's a possibility that Fox used that excuse to bail out on the coverage because the incident was happening in progress. Because remember, in the statement, NASCAR said late this afternoon. However, because there are no lights at Talladega, it was still the right decision to be made. They probably could have waited another half an hour, but I guess because of this particular incident, that's when the postponement happened around, I think it was 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Talladega time. Remember, once you cross the Georgia-Alabama border, you go from Eastern to Central time zone. Now, reading the comments from a lot of people and from other people I talked to last night, it is unbelievable about the amount of people who jumped up right away and stated this was likely to be a staged incident. Never in my life did I see the resurrection of former Empire star Jussie Smollett return with incredible furor. Now, for those of you who have forgotten about Jussie Smollett, he's the one who complained that he was the victim of a hate crime, but then later admitted to have paid 2 men to stage the event. This makes it a possibility history could have very well repeated itself again. But I don't think that was it. I kind of feel very different about it because coming from a standpoint where I do broadcasting, I know not necessarily all the ins and outs of it, but I know enough to understand how the media operates. There are controllers at every network, ABC and NBCBS/Fox. So many networks want to bash Donald Trump, but yet Fox is basically halfway in its reporting and they don't do as much bashing. But when it comes to something like this, I kind of have the feeling that the media is out there again in basically an anything for a story mode. Anything to keep the gasoline churning on a fire that is burning and that is trying to divide us. If the media is being instructed by its owners to continue to fuel the fire as to dividing us because of the color of our skin, then I thoroughly believe this is an absolutely phony story, and I have a couple of good reasons for it. First of all, about a minute or so ago, I mentioned as to when Fox went off the air in proximity to when the incident happened, saying that they lost turn 4 and they basically went off the air a minute later. That was probably when it happened. So they used the excuse of losing turn 4. You don't necessarily lose the track. I know Talladega is the biggest speedway for all NASCAR at like 2.6 miles. But yeah, I can understand where you could lose a portion of the track, but they lost the track. You don't lose one turn. Unless it basically rained over that place longer than anywhere else. That's the only thing I can think of. Secondly, use your noggins on the location. Would you hear this story in Pocono, New Hampshire, Dover, Chicagoland, Kansas, Phoenix, Watkins Glen, Sonoma, Las Vegas? You think a story like this would come up at any of those tracks? Probably not. Location, people. Talladega, Alabama. The Deep South, Confederacy. Remember 2 weeks ago, NASCAR banned all Confederate flags from its tracks. My, that was done very quickly, but it was a financial decision. I don't think it had anything to do with Bubba Wallace. But think about location. Gone with the Wind, just over 80 years ago, not too far away in Atlanta. You're talking Deep South. You're talking people who take pride in Confederate flags, not about racism, but about heritage. And here, this incident is happening because of all of these things put together. And of course, the canceling of culture has partially something to do with that. You wouldn't hear this story anywhere else but somewhere in the South, and Talladega was the perfect place for this story to fire up. Number 3, think about the security at NASCAR events. Last night I spoke with somebody who worked with NASCAR up until a couple of years ago, and he gave me some insight as to how security works. He told me that it's impossible to get to the garage area without the proper credentials. In addition to which, Talladega just recently got a brand new closed circuit security system, and there are cameras everywhere you look. He stated in his opinion that this heinous act was done by another team, a track worker, or an official. And he is hoping that it wasn't a stunt for publicity or press by the 43 team. And to God, I hope not. That's why I'm saying it's a phony story rather than it really happened. But here's one more reason to think. NASCAR is the only sport going on right now, if you really want to call it a sport. Some people do not. But yeah, hey, you drive in a car for 500-600 miles in 80-90 degree heat, along with the heat of the car, you know it's going to be 120, 130 in there. You got to keep yourself hydrated. I've been in a NASCAR car about 20 years ago. Maybe I think it was like 2002 when I was in, and drove for like 3 or 4 laps around a 1 mile racetrack in Orlando. That's hot. Very, very hot. None of the other 4 sports are even close to resuming action. You can forget about baseball this year. The NBA, NHL, if you think they're coming back to finish the season, you're nuts. And football, Cowboys, Texans, LSU players, people are starting to be tested positive for COVID-19 with that too. And especially with the incredible outbreak in Central Florida, especially in Orange County, NASCAR is the only thing going on right now. So, in the minds of the deep state of NASCAR, why not get more fans involved with an incident like this? More ratings, more people who want to see, hey, we want people to watch the race on Monday, so why not we throw this story out there? There's a reason for it. Money is involved with every decision. All wars, all decisions, they're all financial in nature. Why do you think everything's changing so fast? This is why I believe this Noose story is a phony story that is generated by the media to continually keep us distracted. The problem is now, more and more people are starting to see through the media's lies and deception, and it's another reason why I do not hold a mainstream media job, because I probably would not be alive today if I reported anything close to the truth. You wonder how people get erased, and erased silently and quickly from their jobs when it comes to things like this. I did see this last night on Twitter. One of the most popular officers from the show Live PD, and those of you, and I'm sure there's still a lot of you who are still angry about the cancellation of Cops and Live PD in light of everything that has happened over the last couple of weeks, and I still believe that is an absolute disgrace if you ask me. But those of you who follow the show know about one of the most popular officers that have been followed, and of course it's from the flagship station, which is Richland County, South Carolina. Lieutenant, also known as Thundercat, Danny Brown, made some comments on his Twitter page last night, and I will quote this here. I have met and had the privilege of talking with Bubba Wallace. He's one of the best dudes ever, kind heart, and always there for the fans. This is absolutely ridiculous what he's having to go through. We are all here standing with you, Bubba. Stay you, and bleep the haters. I totally agree with that sentiment. If this incident actually happened, I absolutely agree, because nobody in the world should ever be subject to some vile, intentional hate amongst another human being. And that is regardless of size or stature or color or chosen lifestyle. And I find it absolutely appalling that we are still having these issues. If it did happen, then I am totally behind Danny with his statements. But I still say this is one of those phony stories generated by the media. Listen, as for me, I have absolutely no problem with Bubba Wallace. None at all. I just choose to not be a fan of his, but remember, he's as human as anybody else is. The three-headed monster of racism, power, and privilege continues to dominate the American landscape today. We all need change, but you know what? Change begins with us. It does not begin with leadership on any level. It does not begin with monuments being removed based on an instant label. It is not about movements which, in reality, contradict what they stand for. If you look deeper, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But you also have to remember the corporate side of things. As I said, all corporate decisions are financial in nature. And you wonder why everything is changing so fast. I mean, now the latest, they're changing the name of Eskimo pie. Oh my God. Will people ever let it go? But remember, Just as Colin Kaepernick yelled out for social justice for a number of years and has not been able to play football because of it, just remember this. Colin Kaepernick worked for the NFL. Bubba Wallace works for NASCAR. In both instances, they are respective employees and they have to follow the rules of the corporation. And the same goes for anywhere, any company, NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, NASCAR, doesn't matter. It remains the same. If you're an employee of the company, regardless of what level you are, whether it be from custodial work to being one of the top race drivers in the world, you still have to follow the rules. There's nothing wrong with having opinions. You just don't cross them with your main job description. Again, I have nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with Bubba Wallace trying to promote the BLM thing on his car. Nothing wrong with the other driver from a lower series promoting the Back the Blue scheme on his car. As long as the money is there for NASCAR, they are not going to care. At least in 99% of the cases. But the moral to the story is very simple. It's again not about size or stature or color or chosen lifestyle or even religion for that matter, or even politics. We are all in this together. We are the human race. Different color skin, different background, doesn't matter. We are all humanity. Before we self-destruct on anti-social media, we need to get it together and treat each other better and do it fast. Otherwise, we are going to feel the wrath similar to or worse than the end of the 1956 movie, The Ten Commandments. Because if you look at that last 25, 30 minutes of it, I think we're in that stage now. Think about it, and if you don't understand what I'm talking about, watch that last half hour, and you'll understand where we are right now. And that, my friends, is what drives me crazy. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Crazy Tom Show. All of it is one word, at Crazy Tom Show. And of course, Facebook.com/Crazy Tom. And you can look for my What Drives Me Crazy page on Facebook. So make sure you search it out. Thank you guys for joining us once again. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy your week. Please stay safe and stay cool, especially with a hot week coming up. And remember, all of us are in it together. So let's not just act like it. Let's follow through and be that for one another.